Hello everyone and welcome to Praxi Prax. I'm sorry I couldn't upload a video last week. I have a reason. Someone very close to my heart and life passed away last week, and my whole family, our whole family is in mourning and in grief, and I really couldn't get myself to upload a video, although I had already previously recorded some footages for last week. I just couldn't get myself to sit and do the editing and upload the video. I just didn't feel like it. Now I feel that what I go through is something that everyone goes through in their life, and something that I have already gone through once in my life as well. It's grief, especially grief of a loss, a personal loss. And I have lost my father once, and I was away on a different country when my father passed away, and it had a great impact on my life, on me personally, and even physically. And I carried that grief for 2 years until it started manifesting itself in different ways, and I underwent grief counseling to work on it, and later on as a professional I started counseling people on grief as well. So what happened right now is I faced a similar situation, and I have been struggling a little bit, but I thought it would be a good way for me to talk about the grief and also educate people and make everyone aware of the stages of grief. So without much more information, let me just go ahead and give you the 5 stages of grief and how it may affect you or anyone for that matter when they go through a loss of a loved one. So the first stage of grief is denial. This is when everything seems to stop, and it becomes very hard to believe what has happened. It becomes really hard to believe that this person who was alive with you is no longer there, and you're not going to see this person anymore. And it's a state of shock. It is very important to go through denial, because what denial basically does is it closes down your mind to what it can handle. So basically what's happening is this information is very serious, and it can have great impact on you as a whole. So denial helps you to portion that emotion little by little into your mind. So what it's doing is it's acting as a filter and letting in the information very slowly and, in bits and bobs, instead of completely putting everything through your mind and making you completely have a nervous breakdown. So denial is strong as a first stage, and you will go through feelings of, no, it hasn't happened, it's not true, maybe it's just a dream, this is not real. So some of the things that I went through initially during my phase when I went through the loss is a sense of frozenness, so to speak. You freeze, you're unable to feel any emotion. I didn't feel any emotion. I didn't even feel any sadness. And it was different for 2 instances for me. When I heard the news about my father passing away, I just screamed. I had my friends around me. I screamed and I let it all out. I cried, and it was very emotional. When the current news reached me that my sister-in-law was no more, is a sense of shock. And I was actually in the bus traveling back from work. I was in total shock. I just didn't know what to do. My mind was going through different things, the thoughts that are not relevant to the news. And I couldn't feel, and I was also thinking that why am I not feeling sad? I must be a bad person. So it was completely irrelevant, and the denial was so strong because that is something I really didn't want to believe. That's something I didn't accept had happened. It took me a while to get to the next level, but it took me the entire night and the next day for me to actually even shed a tear, because I was by myself and I didn't have anyone to talk to, and pretty much no one knew about it, and I was trying to do something else. I was trying to find a way if I can go back to India to be with family, to be supportive of them, and I was just kind of completely busy diverting myself to the thoughts of to the planning and to trying to find ways and means of getting myself there. So in that way, what I did was I completely shut down the reality of the situation and started focusing on something else, so that I basically delayed feeling anything. And only the next day I was able to actually start feeling the reality, and I did break down because I understand that it does help to let out and cry, although it happened when I was on my way to work. But I was able to talk to someone at work and get that support as well. So it is important to feel, but also at the stage of denial, the feelings are pretty less. Everything will seem meaningless. That's what it is. Everything will feel meaningless. And what denial does is it just helps us to pace the grief instead of bombarding us with all the emotions. So the first stage of grief is denial. Going to the second stage of denial, it's anger. Why anger? Because anger is the easiest of emotions that we as humans feel and perceive, and there is no limit for an anger, and it can be taken out on anything from your computer, your desk, to a pillow, to the wall, or to your friend, your spouse, your partner, whoever. You can take out anger easily. It can manifest itself in so many ways. What happened to me was when my father passed away, I got an SMS the same night from my ex who had broken up with me just a month ago, and I felt this surging anger, and all I did was literally send them a text back saying, "You were never there. You don't deserve to be in my life at this point. You don't deserve to be. Just get out of my life and stay out, and I don't even want to hear anything from you." It was harsh, but it was my anger. I pretty much moved quite fast from the denial to the anger. I think I moved straight to anger. And and after that, I never heard from them. And in the current situation, I did take out my anger on one of my friends who basically didn't even call me after I texted them about the message. I actually called them. They were the first person I called, and they said they will call me right back, and they never called me. Actually, till this day, they haven't called me. I took my anger out on them. I told their partner that, that's it. I'm disappointed and I've given up on them. And I can still feel that I am angry. And in all logical sense, I do understand it has more to do with my grieving process than with the other person. I don't know what the outcome of this anger is going to be, but currently I just stopped all communication with this person. So yeah, that can happen. You can just get angry with your best friend because either they didn't react the way you expected them, or they said something stupid. It can be anything. Anger is a very common emotion, and people tend to get very angry for so many things. Understand, it is okay to feel anger. Anger is a way to work through the grief. So that is how anger manifests. It's usually manifesting very strongly following denial, or it could be the first emotion you feel. People usually feel angry towards God. That is the first reaction. Where is God? Why is he being so cruel? God has no heart. If he had heart, he wouldn't have taken this person from my life, from me. It's usually God who gets the full-blown anger treatment. And it's okay. It's okay to be angry towards God as well. I was. I know. I still am sometimes. So, that's what happens in your second stage of grieving. The third stage of grieving is bargaining. There is always questions. We try to make sense of what has happened, why it has happened. What if I was there? What if I was saying something more to help them? What if I could do it like this? What if they didn't do that? When my father passed away, all I could think was like, why couldn't my father stop smoking? Despite having had a bypass surgery and having a heart attack after his bypass surgery, he still wouldn't quit smoking. So I kept questioning why. What if he had stopped smoking? He could have lived for a little longer. What if someone was there to take him very quickly to the hospital? What if? All these what if questions are us trying to make sense of what has happened. It might make sense, it might not make sense, but end of the day, that's what we do. And we also start to bargain to God usually. God, I'll be good, just let this all be a dream. God, I will do this. I will never be angry with someone. I will forgive everyone. I will not be bad. I will listen to my family. I will listen to my parents. I will help people more. We try everything in hopes that things might be reverted back to the way it was. And that is a stage of bargaining. The fourth stage of grief is depression. At this stage, we come into the present. We come to realize that, okay, this is our life. This is how it's going to be. This person is going to no longer be there for me. It's over. And that makes us sad. Sad to the point that we lose interest on everything. We feel even guilty for being happy, for being good, for laughing, for everything that we normally do. To return to normalcy would mean that we are betraying the ones we lost. And that gives us a sense of sadness, guilt, and all this brings us into a level of depression. It will be very hard to focus. It will be very hard to enjoy things. Everything seems so dull, gloomy, and grey. No matter how hard you try to make things better, you might laugh 1 minute, but the next minute you'll feel guilty and you'll feel depressed. You will go through this. I went through this. And I am going through this as well, on and off. So this is a very important stage. This is pretty much the last stage before the end of your grieving period. When you go through the sad phase where you just don't want to do anything more. And when you do something, you start to feel guilty about it. And that is what happens during the depression phase. The final stage of grief is acceptance. Remember, acceptance doesn't mean someone saying like, I'm okay, I'm fine, yeah, I'm going to work, yeah, I'm doing my classes, yeah, I'm back on my study routine. No, that doesn't mean they're okay. That doesn't mean acceptance. Acceptance is learning to live without this person in your life anymore. Acceptance is learning to cherish the memories, the good times. Acceptance also means to be kinder on yourself, not to feel guilty anymore. Acceptance is very important, and acceptance cannot come unless you go through all the stages of grief. And remember, the stages of grief do not have a sequential order in which they can happen. Like I said, when I first heard my father's news that he had passed away, I screamed, I cried, I let it all out. I was upset until I reached home. It took a solid more than almost a day, 24 hours from the time when I heard the news till I actually reached my home. During those times, I went through anger, depression, and some denial. Actually, denial was not the very first emotion I felt. It was depression and anger. Denial came later. Denial stuck in my life for 2 long years. It changed me as a person, not in a good way. I was not able to handle any news relating to death or to any fathers, any dads. I removed myself from any such situations just because I didn't feel like it. People saw me as rude, insensitive when I would refuse to go for someone else's funeral. It took me 2 years and I started stress eating. My body lost its shape. It changed me. And then I had a couple of blackouts. I would have nightmares closer to my father's anniversary every year. I might remember it 3 days before his date of demise, but I will exactly forget his anniversary on the day. But I will have some strong nightmares involving me arguing with my father. And I went through this all for 2 years. And I was in a counseling training where part of it involves supervision and personal development, where I ended up taking up grief counseling, which completely helped me to work out my grief, to process my grief, to process all the other stages in a proper manner and in a safe environment. So that's what happens. You have to go through your emotions. If you think about putting it aside or shutting it down, it will affect you one way or the other. Whether you realize it or not, it will affect you. And until you reach the level of acceptance, remember this: acceptance doesn't mean you forget this person and you just go on living. Acceptance only means that you learn to value what they have been in your life and how they have changed you into becoming a better person, how their loss actually made you into a much better person in the way you think, in the way you perceive life as a whole. And I believe the current loss I felt in my life, I am feeling in my life, would make me a better person as well. But as of now, I am still going through the grieving process. But I'm sure I will go through them. I will go through the stages and I'm sure I will reach a level of acceptance. But this angel in my life, who I've lost, she will always live in my heart. And I dedicate this entire video for her. She is my angel. She is divine. And she's everything that is good in this world. And I will always miss her. And my love for her has actually grown. There is a sense of warmth in my heart when I think about her every time. There is still more of sadness than the warmth. It takes me everything to make this video without breaking down. But if you're watching this, know this: losses will happen in your life, but you will emerge out of it not just stronger, but more beautiful as a soul and as a person. All you can do is be patient and be kind to yourself. Let yourself feel what you're feeling, and there is nothing wrong in feeling angry, depressed, sad. I might have explained the stages of grief, but everyone might perceive it or go through it in their own way because we are all individuals. This video is one of the ways in which I'm processing my grief. might be something else for someone else. So I think that ends this current episode, and I'm sorry it has been a bit long, but it is very important for me to share this with everyone. So I hope to see you all in the following week with another video. And thanks for being patient and watching. Until next time, it's bye from Praxi Prax.